Welcome, everybody. We're here with none other than Lloyd Baggs from LR Baggs Pickups. How are you, Lloyd?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on, David.
Thanks for being here. Um, Thought I'd ask you a few questions and get your kind of feedback on where we are in this whole world of acoustic pickups and all that sort of thing, and what's new at Baggs at your company, and kind of where it's going. But last person I interviewed, I started by asking, about your journey in this whole guitar pickup business, because I remember when pickups came along, we thought, this is it, man. These DeArmonds sound just like an acoustic pickup, or these Ovations, that's all we'll ever need. And so just about the time we think it's like strings on a synthesizer, the old ones don't even sound like strings if you go back and listen. So
Yeah.
there's been this evolution, and you've been a big part of that. So I was kind of curious about how you got started and wound up where you are.
Well, I started out building acoustic guitars as a hobby in 1974 in my garage in Berkeley, and that was it. So about halfway, I had become friends with Ryan Susan Cooder through my connections in fine art previously.
Right.
And I'm about halfway through my first guitar, and I'm like, dang, I like this. This is it, man. I love this. And Rye's going to own one of my guitars. I just had that little epiphany
Right.
about halfway through my first guitar. So after I finished the first guitar, and my good friend at work that day said, it'll probably sound like a hot penny hitting the nail, a 10 penny nail hitting the asphalt on a hot day. And but anyway, it sounded a little better than that. So
Yeah.
finished that first guitar, took it down to Rye, and after about 10 minutes, he went, "You build me one?" And I thought, well, sure.
Yeah.
And to me, that was a cosmic plan anyway. So
Well,
uh,
yeah.
I moved to LA, set up a guitar making shop, and endeavored to make guitars. And then it took me about 5 or 6 guitars until I felt really competent and to deliver a guitar to him. And that kind of launched my career.
Hmm. Well, it's been interesting because I started playing drums in 1966, and from that point on, I've played something. So I've been along for this whole ride of guitar pickups. Tube amps are dead. Oh wait, they're not dead. All these things that come and go. And one of the things I've sort of watched is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like to me in the, I don't know what your design philosophy is, but the idea that some pickup companies or manufacturers, their approach to acoustic pickups is more to simulate something else. And in other words, get into the modeling world, which we'll talk about in a minute with your newest product. But the idea that your stuff always seemed more aimed at keeping the acoustic guitar sound intact without coloring it at all. Is that am I
Oh,
am I reading that right?
oh yeah, absolutely. I ended up making 30 some odd acoustic guitars and built guitars besides Rye for Jackson Browne and Graham Nash and a number of professional musicians in Southern California. So my roots are in their respect. I mean, I know what it takes to make a guitar.
Right.
It's hard.
Yeah, it
And,
is.
so I don't want to mess it up.
Right.
And, like the original Takamine pickup, that thing weighed about an ounce. It hung under the bridge. And, I got into the pickup business because one afternoon, Rye invited me down to Warner Brothers and to hear something. And he's doing Bop Till You Drop. And he brings me into the control room and plays the first instrumental track and says, "What do you think? Sounds pretty good, huh?" And I go, "Dang, how did you make that thing? That sounds incredible." And he said, "Well, actually, that Takamine copied your guitar, and that is the Takamine pickup." And I just ran it through a chorus pedal into a deluxe and mic'd the amp, and
Right.
pretty good, huh? And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh crap!"
Now what?
Yeah, so I thought that's why I got into the pickup business. Is like he opened my eyes to this, and it hurt me and excited me at the same time.
Right.
So after I left, I sat out in my car for about a half an hour, alternately fuming and being excited, and so going, "Dang, that is the future."
Yeah.
And so I had that thought, okay, I'm gonna get in this business.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get these guys. They took something from me, and now I'm gonna let you know the Takamine headstock is actually my headstock.
Ah.
And they remember when Martin started rattling. Martin started rattling their chain against Takamine back
Oh
then.
yeah. I've got a Takamine lawsuit D20 or D35 hanging downstairs.
There you go.
A
Well, I
guy
was
thought it was a Martin. He pulled it off the thing
yeah,
yesterday. I said, that's not a Martin, you know.
yeah, I was the answer to that lawsuit, and I hadn't copywritten it, and I couldn't rub two nickels together at that time to defend it. So anyway, it just kind of went on and had its own life, and I got a pickup business out of it. So that it was a fantastic trade, and we've since become great friends with Takamine and actually do some business with them. But
Right.
it was that whole thing that got me into pickups. And with my first pickup, the LP6, all I wanted to do was get that same Takamine sound
Right.
without screwing up the sound of the guitar. And so, I made a deal with Mr. Harade uh, to for him to send me some pickups for my 10 guitars a year. And so first one arrived, and I was like, oh, dang, this thing weighs about 2 ounces. I'm not going to put this on a guitar.
Right.
So that was where the whole idea came from.
Huh.
So the respect for the guitar has always been a foundational principle of our journey.
Well, and you know, just in the last 10 years, I've gotten out and started playing as a solo artist, partly because I just wanted to be able to travel, and you can't do that with a band that's got, everybody's got families and all that, and I can control my destiny a little better if I just say, hey, it's just me. I'm going to set up over here and play my stuff. So for me, the journey was, it's got to sound good, you know, because I've sold a lot of acoustic guitars in here, and people go, this pickup sounds great, and I'm thinking, no, it really doesn't. You think it does because of what you just had, but as time went on, I started putting your Anthem system in all my old Gibsons and Martins, and I would have sound guys come up and go, what is that? And I'd go, well, it's an old J200. They go, no, what's in it, you know? And so the 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 ability to capture that, you know, became really important. For some reason I flashed on, though, going back to what used to be the norm, which was if you go back and watch Woodstock, for instance, and you've got 30 or 40 microphones up there in front of Crosby, Stills and Nash trying to capture that. And I have people come in occasionally say, well, I'm just going to mic my stuff live. And I go, you can do that, but here are your challenges. So what I think you guys have successfully done up to now is to get as close to that as possible without all those compromises from monitoring and feedback and condenser mics nobody knows how to use and all that stuff.
Well, it's always a war.
Yeah.
Uh, like any kid can go into Guitar Center, plug in an electric guitar into an electric guitar amp, and have a big old grin on his face in 15 seconds. And we have yet to do that with acoustics, and that's what we're working on. Our company is just working on closing that gap.
Right.
So playing acoustic guitar live can be as pleasurable and rewarding as playing electric guitar.
Well, that's, you know, you mentioned Jackson Browne earlier. You listen to his acoustic stuff,
It's the
and
best.
it's, yeah, you know, he starts with really great guitars. Who knows what kind of stuff's inside him, and then a nice, you know, Neumann or whatever he puts in front of the thing, you know, and then a great engineer. So but that's all they have to do is figure that out, you know, and so they've got a lot of time and resources. Um, One of the things I really wanted to talk about, and I'm sure you want to talk about, is this little guy right here,
Yeah.
and the voice print DI, which is, I guess that's kind of your latest big breakthrough thing you're out with, and I've spent quite a bit of time with it. And Mike Luckett was nice enough to have me down to the place in Nashville where
Huh?
I am a lot, and spent some time with me and got me acquainted with it, and it's now on my pedal board. So,
Awesome.
um, you know, I think it's still a work in progress for me. You know, the tweaking, you know, But maybe if you could for folks, just explain the concept of
Sure.
the voice print DI.
Well, the idea again is to make getting a good sound, a pleasurable, inspiring sound from your live acoustic guitar just as easy as pie.
Right.
And so the idea came about with our engineer said, hey, well, why don't we use why don't we use the phone, the phone on the mic on an iPhone and see if we can do something with it and, make impulse responses from it. And, we all looked at him and went, like, yeah, that's got about as much chance of working as a GI Joe walkie-talkie. and and so he said, no, I think we can do this. And so anyway, we just did a little bit of work with it, and we realized that if we cut the aesthetics out of the question and just use it as a measurement tool, it actually has a mode that is pretty good as a measurement device. So, there's a saying about the Michelangelo David. You start with a block of marble and you remove everything that doesn't look like David.
Right.
That's how you do it. So the concept is the same. We decided to use impulse response, not with a Neumann microphone and a Neve console and a tube amp and all the beautiful stuff that you usually use in a recording chain,
Right.
and just say, well, heck with that. Let's just measure what the guitar is doing.
So it's more a numerical, more of a arithmetic
Yeah,
thing. It's an analytical tool. Uh,
exactly.
One of the questions I asked Mike was, "Is are we modeling this guitar?" And he said,
Not at all.
"Not at all." But that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, it does. You ever see that movie Lars and the Real Girl?
No.
It was just about this guy that fell in love with a blow up girl, and he took her everywhere like his real girlfriend. And eventually, through the process of the movie, he kind of gets emotionally healed and finds a real girlfriend. And I've always wanted the real girl.
Yeah.
So I've always felt that modeling was not really the real girl. I want a relationship. The reason that you play guitar, you fell in love with that guitar on that wall. You just went along and strummed it, and you went, oh, there it is.
Right.
And so modeling will, get you sort of kind of like an audio equivalent of a TV dinner, but it won't get you the real ingredients. And
Right.
so we just decided to measure the guitar, measure the frequency response of the guitar. That's all we're doing, is just measuring the frequency response of the guitar. And then we're putting it into some math, and we're using the phone to record the frequency response of the guitar while the pickup is plugged into the box. The Bluetooth communicates the pickup signal to the phone that has massive computational power. So we were able to use a very advanced algorithm to do a sum and difference. And so basically all we're doing is taking away everything that doesn't sound like David, creating a filter, and then the pickup goes through that filter, and you hear what the microphone has measured. But it's still your pickup, it's still your touch, it's still your guitar.
So one of the questions I had, and I forgot to ask anyone about it, does 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 it work basically? It should work in theory basically the same way, whether I'm using a sound hole pickup, an element active. What's is there an optimal way to do all that measuring?
Well, there are numbers of ways to do it. I mean, we just introduced a multi-mic, or we're introducing a multi-mic addition to our software that
Okay.
allow you to move the mic around and like do a multi-miking, simulate multi-miking. So there's ways to enhance the basic capture,
Right.
but the pickup, we haven't been able to eradicate the pickup completely.
Right.
There's always a little character of the pickup involved, like the attack, release. A magnetic pickup still gonna have a little bit of magnetic in there, and
Right.
so I wouldn't say there's any optimum.
Right.
It's just taste.
Yeah. And the first few times I did some, I tried to create a voice print. I feel like I had to kind of figure out the optimal place to put it. And even from the time Mike showed me how to do it, then he sent me a thing and said maybe even, get it a little, just placement of the thing just to optimize the microphone in the phone and
Yeah.
all that sort of thing. So and the thing that I've noticed, one of the most powerful things in there to me is that equalizer,
Oh,
because
thanks.
I'm used to working with plugins in a in
Yeah.
a computer recording environment, and I just jump on that thing and you can go in there and sweep the freak and go, okay, there's your problem, carve that out at 3
Yeah.
dB
Yeah.
or whatever. You can narrow the Q or what. I mean, it's to me that's brilliant because now there are a lot of people that don't know how to use EQ of any kind,
True.
so there's a
That's why we
learning.
have a little presets.
Yeah, so, but those are helpful because
Yeah.
right off the bat you might go, okay, well if we roll off the low end, that gets rid of some of that boominess, or if it's too shrill, do a low
Right.
pass filter or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, to me that is such an integral part of it. And one day I was messing with it and I thought, I feel like I'm having to do too much. Is there such a thing as too much EQing? Am I sucking the life out of it? I just went back to flat and started over, and I was able to
Yeah.
carve it up pretty good.